Okay, we are live. Alicia, can you hear me? And you can
Yes,
see
I can
me.
hear you.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am. Can you see me and hear me?
I can.
Okay.
So
Okay,
welcome
great.
everybody to another episode of We Ain't Dying for This, a Black woman's guide to liberation. Before we get started, we would love to hear from you in the chat to tell us where you are watching from. And I know this is going to be just a little bit delayed because LinkedIn be tripping. So we're going to wait just a second to see if those responses come in. And then we will get started. Okay, we're not seeing anything come through. So we just gonna go ahead and start talking. And hopefully folks let us know that they can hear us and see us and tell us where they are actually dialing in from. So this show features Black women who free themselves from the expectations of others and are living their lives on their own terms. My name is Crystal Johnson. I am a retreat host and founder of Design Your Soft Life. And I host intimate luxury retreats for Black women that have been said to be reminiscent of Wakanda. And what's important to me about those spaces is that when you are in a space with other Black women in a bubble, you are able to lay it down, like take the cape off, take the mask off, and you are liberated in a very unimaginable way. So this August, we're traveling to Cartagena, Colombia, to experience some soul restoring sisterhood while immersing ourselves in Afro Colombian culture. And I launched this series because, quite frankly, Black women are dying. And we are dying from carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders. And it is about time that we take that cape off and save ourselves first. And that doesn't mean we can't go back to save others, but it's important that we save ourselves, be whole first before we can save others after. And I think there's been a lot of conversations about liberation, and it's been talked about in a very binary way. So I really wanted to bring different Black women on the show to talk about the ways in which they've been liberated. So now that I've gone through that, let's check the chat. Okay, we got Raleigh, North Carolina, Miami, Florida. Hey, Dan. Hey, Javonda. How are y'all doing? Thank you so much for listening in. We would love if you would also share this live with a Black woman that you think might benefit from this conversation because we got to spread the love. We got to spread the love. So today, as I mentioned earlier, we're talking to Alicia Coulter about spaces as liberation. Alicia, did I say your last name right?
You made it sound so fancy, girl. It's real basic. Coulter.
Coulter. Coulter. And we're talking about spaces as liberation. Alicia is a force to be reckoned with. Her mission is clear: creating safe spaces for Black women where inclusivity, health, and positivity are at the forefront. She's the CEO and co founder of the AHN Foundation, a nonprofit organization committed to empowering Black women by offering them the sanctuary they deserve. Ooh, I love that. Chills. The idea for these spaces was born from Alicia's own experiences in corporate America, where she often felt unsafe simply because of her identity as a Black woman. And I think many of us can relate to that.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
Alicia, I ordered your book. It's not here yet. But
Okay.
can you describe safe spaces for Black women and why was it so important for you to write the book?
Thank you. So, Safe Spaces for Black Women is, I say it's a part of a toolkit that includes a book, a blog, a podcast, and safe spaces,
Mhm.
specific like events and groups and whatnot. So, the book itself is focusing on stories that were told to me by Black women. Also, I throw my stories in there. Some I say are my stories, some I don't, to protect myself from litigation. Okay. And it's the stories to validate Black women, letting them know you're not the only one experiencing this. You know, I'm not telling these stories to re-traumatize sisters. Like, that's not the goal. The goal is to let them know, listen, you're not the only one going through this, sis. Like, it is not you, it's them. I literally say that in the book. And I talk about how I thought I was damaged goods at one point because I just could not find a job where I felt appreciated, where I felt like they really understood how smart I am,
Mhm.
you know, that sort of thing. So it's a book to validate, and then through validation to give sisters encouragement in knowing that you're not the only one going through this. If you have to job hop, if you have to change job every 6 months, girl, go change that job because your sanity is worth more than proving to anyone. I was reading an article the other day where it was talking about Black women stay on jobs to prove that they are worthy or that it's not them.
Yeah.
That's the problem, or they can actually do what they're being asked to do. When we are beyond educated, I have 3 degrees. Like, I have umpteen 20 plus years experience in corporate America. And now I'm running 2 companies and a lifestyle brand. I think I could do your little job. Okay. And so it was to encourage sisters that you're not the only one going through this. Like, I promise you, it's not just you. And then also tools to elevate, right? So tools to teach sisters, listen, this is how you find your safe space. Sometimes your safe space will never be at your job. Sometimes your safe space will be with your sister friends, will be with your circle, will be within you,
Mhm.
yourself. And so giving tools, the tools that I use to find my safe space. Now, I always tell my husband, if I had to go back to a 9 to 5, you would truly lose your wife. Like, I don't know who I would be.
Mhm.
So that's really the focusing on safe spaces for Black women. And I wrote the book because, gosh, I wish I had it when I was going through what I was going through. I wish I had someone, I literally had only my husband telling me, it's not you,
Yeah.
maybe one other person, because so many other Black women that I know were dealing with the same thing. So how are they going to tell me it's not me when they feel it's them too at their place? So a business. So that's what the book and all the components of safe spaces for Black women are centered in, is to give Black women from multiple different areas and angles validation, encouragement, and elevation. The tools to elevate, shall I say.
Yeah. So one thing that you said stood out to me is like your job is not going to be a safe space for you. I mean, I guess it's possible, but it's unlikely. One of the things that I definitely like not turn my nose up at, but it's like red flag number one is a company that's like, we're a family. We're not a family.
Mm-mm.
We not a family. That is like red flag number one that makes me want to run real fast away. So I wanted to say that because if you are someone who feels like your job should be your safe space, you got to find another space to feel safe because it's just not, that's not it.
Absolutely. They're not your family because you tell your business to the ones that are closest to you, right? And also family can also be people that you want to run away from.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes you choose your family. You choose who you're gonna call sis. You choose who you're gonna call. Like, my husband's name is Chad, and everyone calls him Brother Chad, right? You
Mhm.
choose people that you're gonna call those names. And I'm sorry, not sorry, job. I'm not choosing to call you brother or sister. Period. Full stop. So, and you're right. I spend a lot of time with my family. So, are you trying to coerce me into feeling comfortable into spending a lot of time with you? Now, are you trying to get me to work 60 hours a week? I'm confused. What's going on here? We're not
Right.
family.
Exactly. Exactly. And what I love about your platform and your book is that we all want to be seen and we all want to feel safe. And your work has really been life changing for the Black women who have come into contact with you. So I know you've heard a lot of horror stories and probably had your own. And you talked a lot about the book being validating. So I know that there are stories, there's probably a story, more than one, that you continue to hear over and over and over again. Can you share one of those stories that would probably resonate with someone who's listening that might be thinking to themselves, "Oh, this is just me. It's just happening to me."
So literally, wait, what's today? Thursday? So
Mhm,
probably it was Tuesday. I was talking to someone and I was telling them about how um, someone that I reported into referenced me as their friend because I told them how, well, I'm trying to get I want to make sure I'm not giving away too much information for a certain reason. Okay, so bear with me. So this person is not black, but their husband is. And so she would talk about how combing her kids' hair was very challenging to her. And she would talk about how the family would have barbecues and were loud and asked me, "Is the Popeyes fried chicken sandwich, does it taste good to you?" Now, at this point in my life, I was a complete vegetarian. Now I eat, I'm a pescatarian, but I was completely vegetarian. No flesh, no nothing. And I said, well, I would, now we're on a conference call. I said, I wouldn't know. I don't eat chicken. I still don't eat chicken to this day. I was like,
mhm,
I don't eat chicken. And she said, oh, so I reported all these instances to human resources.
mhm,
Then after that, I had to do my SMART goals. In the SMART goals, we set a standard. These are the SMART goals that I have to meet.
mhm.
Well, fast forward after I reported her into HR, now the SMART goal changes. That is something that I started the story out with that to get to the SMART goal. That is
Mhm.
the story that I hear constantly. Once you say something about their asinine behavior, then the goalpost starts, you start chasing it, and you can never meet it because they're trying to ice you out.
Yeah.
And that's a story that I hear time and time again is you go to HR and they tell you, we're here to support you. Well, you go for support, and then management is able to do that. And that is so concerning because now they get to weaponize your position and the
Mhm,
work that you do against you and saying, but you're not doing enough. And she put things on the goalpost included work that I did not um, even manage. Someone else was managing, someone that she would talk about to me frequently. You see what
mhm.
I'm saying? So that's what constantly would happen. Oh, cue my side eye and cue leader talking about my nonverbal expressions. Oh, all the time. Why don't you smile? Well, what are we smiling about? I'm here to do work. Like, we playing games or we working? Tell me what we doing.
Yes, do you think I'm here to perform for you?
Yes. So these types of things, I mean, I could go, girl, you asked me that. I could run out a scroll of stories that I hear,
Mhm.
literally a scroll. Because people
Yeah,
always messaging me or calling me and want to tell, girl, let me tell you what happened because they know, one, I'm going to validate their experience and try and encourage them. So they can reach out to me for that.
yeah. Microaggressions. And then the lack of accountability afterwards. I will say that I validate that experience as well as something that happens is you report it, nobody gets held accountable, even though they say people are held accountable, that intent matter or impact matters over intent. And then next thing you know, you're being pushed out of the door because you're put on a PIP, or all of a sudden, like the whole year has passed, no one's giving you any feedback. And now all of a sudden, you have feedback, you do horrible work. And it's like, well, wait, where was all of this feedback for the rest of the year? And it's because now you're upset. So it's basically like crying Karen. Now you're crying, but you're weaponizing your tears, or weaponizing, like you say, your position at that point.
Absolutely. That is absolutely what happened.
Yep. So
I have so many things I could say.
yeah, you're like, I'm gonna hold back right now.
I'm
Um,
just because I want you to be able to get through your questions.
I mean, I want you to share. So if there's
Well,
anything that you please do. Yeah.
I just want to say this. We know the formula. So if we know the formula, we have to determine what is how are we going to solve this formula, right? What's our equation here? When they pull out this formula, what's our formula? Okay, so what are we going to do? I'll tell you what mine was. I go on leave of absence because what I'm not going to do is sit around and deal with this.
Mhm.
I literally take a break and find me another job. Literally, that was my cycle,
Yeah.
and I would go on disability because y'all have stressed me out. I need to be on disability. I'm tired. My back hurts. My head hurts. I'm stressed. I'm crying all the time. You know what I'm saying? And I tell a story about a woman in my book, and then I tell a story about a woman, pick up on who that woman is
Mhm.
on my podcast that's dropping. That's not a shameless plug. I'm just saying that I talk about that and how I woke up, or that woman woke up on her birthday, 2021, crying because of the pain she was in from work,
Mhm.
trying to prove that she could stay and outlast the drama, trying to prove it. And I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it anymore. So I filed a claim against them and I went on leave of absence. I went on
Yeah.
leave of absence. So, I just feel like sisters have to start giving themselves permission to develop our own formulas in navigating this. And if that means a quick exit, um, I live in the state of California, so we have certain financial allowances for disability and whatnot that
Mhm.
are a little more lucrative than other states. But if that means you got to get you an AFLAC policy to keep in your hip pocket for when you have to take a break, sis, take that break. Give yourself permission because it is not easy for us in these workplace streets, especially those of us that are at certain levels within our career. It is rough because they're trying to suppress and reduce the amount of money we make so that we listen to what I'm saying. And this is not propaganda, okay, what I'm about to say. They want
Mhm.
to reduce our ability to pull our families up out of poverty. They want to limit the value of the black dollar. And so, how do they do that? They pay us less.
Mhm.
They keep us from promoting. They keep us from making more money. So, that's what I'm saying. Do what you have to do to escape and move on to the next place and self promote.
Yeah. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready for sure.
That's
If
I
stay ready so you don't have to get ready with a person, it would be you.
that, that's it. Oh, I stay, child, locked and loaded.
Yeah. And to that point, like TikTok University is always dropping all the gems. And I watched a video the other day, and this woman was sharing about like, what do you do if you get put on a performance improvement plan and your manager has been ignoring you? They cancel your meetings, like they're not really connecting with you at all. But then all of a sudden, you get put on a performance improvement plan that you can actually say that there has been a failure to manage. And I was like, ooh, that's information that I've never heard of before. So that's another gem that I want to share with those who are watching, especially if you're in a situation where your manager is just icing you out, because that's horrible. That is not
Yes,
something that we should experience in workplaces. So if that's something that you're experiencing, it's not you, it's them.
it's not you, it's them.
Exactly. So I know that it is not our job. Like, we're not here speaking about organizations. And although we wish that they played a more active role, we're not really here to try to convince them to do the right things because often they're upholding and further perpetuating the violence that we experience. Um, so no workplace will ever be perfect. But what are some green flags that we should look out for when considering whether a space is safe? If you're in a workplace, what's like a couple of green flags that you think people might see?
So I think definitely a supportive manager or a department lead that's supportive, that is like, okay, I see the work you're doing, you know, I'm going to actually uphold a raise for you. I'm going to bring you up to the level that, Jonathan is at. I think
Mhm.
that is a bright green flag. You want someone that's going to make you financially secure within your position because it's expensive out in these streets. I was just talking to a friend today and I was telling her, oh, when my kids were younger, a box of Huggies cost, like $27. She was like, girl, please, that box is like almost $40 now. Things are far more, exactly, things are far more expensive now. And I need you to make sure I'm secure and comfortable at home, right?
Yeah.
So the financial piece is always really important. And then also, I believe, like, for women that have children, talking when you have someone that understands that you have small children or children any age and you have to go to their events and they let it be known, please, family first. I think that's definitely a green flag. Someone that allows you to lead within your department without a leash because they will put a leash on you. And so I've been told, why did you reach out to them? Because that's part of my job. No, that's not, that's a part of your job, but not for this. Okay, but did you tell? No, it doesn't matter, Alicia. You should have known. I don't really know how I should have known. This is what I'm thinking, but okay. Mind reader I am now. Got it. But someone that allows you to lead without a leash and allows you to do your job without those types of stressors. Someone that stands up to their leadership for
Yeah.
you on your behalf. You know what I'm saying? They're willing to guard you. That's really important because if they stand up to their leadership, that means they're not putting their security at risk for you, which is
Mhm.
what leadership is supposed to be about. You're supposed to defend your team, and then you come to your team and say, now listen, this is next time, let's not do this, right? So those types of things are green flags, something that I would want from a leader, someone not just like, oh, forget what company it was recently that laid off like half their staff and they had a party. Gosh,
What?
I forget what company. Oh, it was a big company, Sports Illustrated. I believe it was Sports Illustrated. They laid off half their team and then had a party. Told them, "You're gonna be leaving, but we're gonna have a party." That's a red flag. Like a green flag is understanding to be fiscally responsible
Yes.
right now because many organizations are settling after that pandemic flush amount of money that came into their pockets. They're like, "Oh wait, but it's not the same now. We need to
Mm.
level set and regroup and then get things done." No, that's what we need them to do, not throwing parties. So, an organization or leadership that understands when it's time to have a good time and when it's time to be fiscally responsible, and maybe we're going to go order CPK instead and have lunch in the conference room, or I'll send it to your house if they're
Mhm.
remote. Oh, and understanding that sometimes we need to be remote.
Yeah. Because work can be done remotely. It was done for 2 years remotely. So,
Yes. Successfully, companies made so much money.
mhm, absolutely. You made me think about something when you were talking about leaders. So I have felt so lucky for the last few managers that I've had because they've all been Black women and they all showed up in the same way as you mentioned. They provided
Okay.
their cover to me. They have helped me with expanding my wealth. So, for example, I had a leader who hired me, and it was after I was laid off in 2019 and when I moved to Austin. And it's funny because I had accepted another job offer and I declined her offer like 3 times because I felt bad that I had already accepted a job. And how do I go back to these people to say, I'm not going to accept it? And at some point, she was like, you know what? I'll give you a sign on bonus. And she gave me a 5-figure sign on bonus. I had never had a sign on bonus in my whole career. And she opened that door for me to build wealth, like to experience more wealth in that moment, but also like going forward, I know what to ask for. So
That's
now when I
right.
ask for a sign on bonus, it need to be a 6-figure sign on bonus. Otherwise, I'm good.
Yeah.
So she taught me that. And that is why I feel so lucky to have had such great Black women leaders. We're not all created equal, but I have been very lucky to have leaders who have supported me and really given me the things that I need to know how to move forward in my career.
I want to say something to this Black woman leader thing, okay? Um, no, we're not all created equally, but I want us to be okay with saying, I have a Black leader, Black female leader. We'll stop.
Mhm.
Because we give everyone else that, oh, they're our manager, they're this, whatever. They get a given. I have seen so many posts on LinkedIn talking poorly about Black women leaders. It has made my skin crawl.
Mm,
And I wish that we'd understand what they're dealing with on the back end. Imagine what we're dealing with.
yeah.
Imagine what they're doing with at their level, right? So at their level, if they're a director, if they are a vice president, one of those presidents that because or president of this district, that district, because the company is top
Mhm.
heavy. Whatever it is, banking is like that. You got 8 million presidents of different
Yes,
organizations, right? And so if imagine what she's dealing with. So sometimes we have to take a pause. Black men have it way more easy in the workplace than we do.
they do.
And I could go into why, but I'm not going to do that today. But they have it far more easy than we do. And so we have to give our sisters some passes. And sometimes you may have to be like, sis, I have a question. Last week, this happened. What's going on? They may not have an awareness. Now, some of them might not be easy to deal with. I'll tell you this, the majority of your non-Black leadership might not be easy to deal with. But we don't say they, some of them aren't that great. We don't say that with them, but we do with us. And we got to stop doing that and just give them the same allowances that we give everyone else.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I can see that.
Yeah. I've
Thank you.
seen some stuff like it's driving me. I was like,
Yeah.
in mixed company?
Mhm, right. Like, you gotta be able to I would never, on the internet, call out a Black woman. If we have
Girl.
a disagreement with each other, then we gonna talk about it together and try to figure it out.
Mhm,
But I'm never gonna come on the internet and, like, blast you because
mhm.
I why would I
It's
give them another reason?
it's so disgusting, it drives me crazy, but
Mm,
yes.
totally. So I know that we are at time, but I got a couple more questions to ask you that I think
Okay.
the first one, I think, is something that those who are listening will want to know.
Well,
What
we have a little more time because you had your video play for, like, 4 minutes.
Okay. Okay, girl. Okay, as long as you got time.
Girl, my kids are grown, I'm here.
Okay, perfect. So, I think we're gonna be holding our breath a long time for organizations to really be loyal to us. So, going back to something that you said before, like, stay ready so you don't have to get ready, and you gave some tips on, like, things that people can do, when things happen where you're being iced out. But can you talk about a few more things that we can personally control to like make sure that our nervous system is regulated, that we are not overwhelmed and stressed by the things that are going on at work? Because again, it's them and it's not you. So, what are some things
Yes.
that you can do that you can control?
So one of the things, and I'm gonna talk about things that Shanae, I'm gonna always talk about what we can do as in self-care.
Mhm.
Okay. Um so I was reading when he said, for those that are watching this later and don't see it. But I want to say one, I love to work out. Like I lift heavy weight. And that for me, when I don't work out, I get depressed. So it really is a stress reliever. And that's one of the things I enjoy. I think we should exercise, number one. I don't care if it's just walking, I don't care if it's yoga, Pilates, whatever it is, add that to your regimen.
Yeah.
because you get those endorphins going. You can't help but feel better about yourself and be a little more clear and level headed. That's the reason why people say get up and work out at the beginning of your day, not the end of your day. Is because you get those endorphins going, you get the sweat glands going, and your body is clean and clear. You feel good about yourself. That's number one. Number two, to the if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. I call it a theology, and I talk about it in my book. The theologian that created a song is from California, SoCal, like me,
Mhm.
named Sugar Free. And so if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Keep your resume updated. If you want a business, get your LLC locked in. Get you a tax preparer that can tell you, or a bit, or a CPA, or someone that can help you develop your financial side of your business plan. Think about a service-based business. What are you doing at work that you can do for someone else and make 10 times more money, right? Think about those types of things. How can you develop your craft? What do you need to do? You need to take some classes. I was in a horrible position. I went back and got my third degree because I was paying attention to the people around me, where they went to school, what their degrees were, what type of work were they doing, how did they package and sell themselves. And I went back and got another degree because I was like, at some point, I'm going to need this in order to leverage myself
Mhm.
into spaces. So I went and got a degree from UCLA. That conversation, that opens up a totally different conversation when I tell people I graduated with my master's in public health from UCLA. Then
Mhm.
it's like, okay, now we'll listen to what you have to say, Alicia. It's totally different versus I got my master's in social work from Dominguez Hills, which is a Cal State, and it's a school that was birthed out of the riots. It used to be a completely black serving institution. It has a
Mhm.
completely different tone, right? So strategize. Let your frustration and the pain from your workplace fuel you into your next steps.
Mhm.
That's really what the focus should be for you. Let that fuel you. Determine your next steps based off of the frustration you have with where you are. Now, I understand I've been debilitated by workplace trauma. So it's not always that easy. But when you're able to climb up out of that rut, out of that funk,
Mhm.
start, dust off your eyes, clean off your lipstick that's smeared and whatever the issue is, and start devising a plan. And then also network.
Yes.
Your network is really your net worth. I networked with someone, then I was able to solidify my first RFP that was 5 figures, and it was high 5 figures. And that's what gave me the confidence and the level of comfort that to let me know, girl, you can do this. You can do this. Allow people to give you bids and money because you know them. Sometimes we as Black women will be like, well, I don't want, a handout. Oh, handout to me all day, every day. The good old boys do it. I'll take it. I know you. You want to give me money? Thank you.
Yeah.
So those are my suggestions. I had a post, I took it down on Instagram where I talked about, sis, navigate this world like a delusional white man, like
Yes.
like Donald Trump. That man, he's so delusional and confident at the same time. Navigate your space like that as much as humanly possible without looking like a fool, please.
Yeah. Don't look like a fool. One other thing that I would add to that, which is kind of like connected to networking, is building community and
Mhm.
finding spaces and community that are safe with other people who, well, for me, I like to be in spaces with Black women, but you might want to be in mixed company where you feel safe. That's up to you. Um, but it's important for me to be in spaces with people who understand my experience, who maybe have experienced the same things as me, who I can really, again, take off that cape and just show up as myself. I can show up authentically. I can be transparent. I can be vulnerable. and I'm not being judged. I think a lot of times we just want to be heard. We want to be
Mhm.
seen and validated, as you were talking about earlier in the conversation. And that makes all the difference, because then you no longer feel like you are being delusional, like you're the one who is the problem, because now you have someone that's like, no, actually, this happens a lot.
Absolutely, and that's why I started my safe spaces. It started off with me asking, "Dan has a crush on you, girl." Um, um, so there was, I started my safe spaces because of that. I was getting my hair done, and I told my hairstylist, I was like, "I want to have a brunch," and I said, "Just for Black women, though." She was like, "Girl, do it." I was like, "But what if no one comes?" And that brunch sold out in 48 hours. We were in a private wine cellar, and then the events just kept going. Then I had like a scented brunch in partnership with Joe Malone at Nordstrom. Then I had a Galentine's at a private residence where we had masseuse and a chef and a
Yeah.
jazz band. And then after the jazz band, we turned it up with the DJ and um, the uh, the mixologist. Like these women just kept coming, and so then I re-strategized and said, you know what? We're done partying. I'm I'm cutting you off, like the last call done. And now we're gonna focus on building our network and our network. So I had a masterclass, an intimate masterclass with like 12 women. I had a businesswoman who has pivoted so much. Dan, a businesswoman who had who has like she is pivoting out of this world. She's like on her way to become a real estate mogul. She's bought like 4 properties all around LA right now. This is a single Black woman. And she has a communications company. Then I had a recruiter that worked in fintech and tech and all over the place with tech. And then a representative from a bank that's out here that's in Canada too, called BMO, and he was talking about the financial the lending practices they have for Black women.
Mhm.
And we were going toe to toe, just talking about back and forth about building your business, building your network, giving different tools. And those women left there with so much knowledge. I'm having another event in June where we're going to just be talking about branding. I have a dynamic panel. And so that's the focus. It's like, okay, now we partied in 22 and 23 and 24. Y'all should be regrouped, and let's go and start figuring out how we're going to make this money, how we're going to live the soft life, how we're
Yeah.
going to make sure that we are safe in our own spaces, and making sure that we are confident in what we're doing and the pathway that we are creating for the next generation. Because that's what we're doing all this for, right?
Yeah. Sis, put me on the list. Put me
Oh,
on.
yeah, I will drop my email list thingy. We can sign up in the LinkedIn chat. Listen, I have women that travel to come to my events. It's worth it. It's gonna be so nice. I have a Black owned soul food venue that I believe I'm gonna have it on. They're like a 5-star spot. I'm so excited. Like this event, I'm like, I'm like, can it happen tomorrow? Like I'm so excited about it. And I'm not, we talked about this, Crystal, really quick before we move on, but we talked about this. I'm not a salesy person, but I believe in creating. Yes, yes, ma'am, LinkedIn user. I'm gonna drop it in the chat when I get off of this. But I'm not a salesy person, but I want to say this: the way I believe in Black women, the way I love Black women, the way ugh, I don't want to cry. The way I desire for Black women to be safe, because I know what I went through.
Yes.
The way that I desire it, because I don't think people really understand that sometimes we are treated like we are still on the plantation at these jobs. People do not understand we are not whipped with actual whips and chains, but people's mouths and their
Yeah.
behaviors can mimic that same behavior, right? Or that same experience. And so I create these environments in hopes that not just one, but all these sisters get what they need in order to not just survive, but to thrive and to
Yes.
move to their next journey, their next space in life. And that space may be with another employer, but it could encourage them to start something on their own. You are running someone else's company. When you run a department, you're running their company. Why
Yes.
can't you do it for yourself?
Mhm.
So that's why I do what I do. And that's why I'm like, we're done partying. Let's get this popping. Let's go. It's time. It's time to elevate. It's time to get beyond where we are right now. And I mean that. I'm not even like, I'm from LA. I'm like straight up, like I'm being dead serious right now. Like that's my desire.
I
And I
appreciate
say I'm from LA because I'm literally from LA and people from LA are different than transplants.
I got it because I know it's a lot of those. I want to just thank you for your transparency, your
Yeah.
vulnerability, always being so authentic. Like I could tell who you were, like through your LinkedIn content, our messages to each other, our texts, our first phone call that happened. Was that this week or last week?
It was last week.
Last week. Okay, because the days is running together, girl.
Girl, it's summertime already, okay?
You are a vibe. So we appreciate you so much. And I think that
Thank
it's
you.
so true that one woman, one Black woman can save a whole community, a whole generation of people because we are just so determined and
Yes.
we got the juice,
We got that
period.
everybody want to drink, boo, and try
Hmm.
and remake. Don't say that. You're gonna get me on a tangent about that. So we're not gonna go there.
The juice. We'll bring you back. We'll bring you back. But is
I'll
those who
come
are
back
listening
anytime.
dropped so many gems during this conversation, and I know like folks love you just as much as I do. So please let people
Thank
know
you.
how they can be connected with you, how they can get in touch, how they can be on your list for what's coming up next. And don't forget to plug your podcast.
Okay, I'm dropping it. I'm going to drop my list. I figured it out. I was like, how do I do this? I'm dropping my list in the chat right now. Do you see it?
Not yet. Oh, yep. I see.
Okay. Okay. So if you go to that website, there's a pop-up that will have for you to join the list. So if you just put your email in there, well, it's a Google form. And I do that because I have an email and a text list. And so I know some people prefer text because you get it to your phone. And the text people get more messages from me, like encouraging messages. Like if I see something, I'm like, oh, sis, and it may cause me to, think of something to send
Mm-hmm.
you like like, oh my God, I just saw a tree. And that tree made me think of, and then I'll send you like an encouraging message in hopes that, you are able to continue your day, your week, whatever. So that's what that list is for. And then my events go out to my email and my text list first
Mm-hmm.
and then socials. I really want to focus in on conversations. When I send out messages, sisters email reply, I email back, and I usually email back really quick. I'm very approachable, and I'm very easy to get in contact with. Like, what does Deion Sanders say? I'm not hard to find, right? So if you just reply to my email, I'll reply back, girl. I'm not. I'm. I told you I'm from LA. Like, I'm not even like that.
Yeah.
So that's one, and then my podcast and my blog drop on March 9th. I'm so excited. And so the podcast and the blog, I remember I told you it's a toolkit, right? So it's the book, the podcast, the blog, and the events. And so the blog and the podcast will always correlate. They'll always go together. So if I'm talking about something in the podcast, it's going to be in the blog too. Now, the podcast will go a little deeper sometimes, and sometimes the blog will go a little deeper. It just depends on my mood that day. So, but either way, one of them is going to be deeper than the other, going to go deeper than the other. So there's that. And you can find me on Spotify. I'll drop the link in this chat as well, or Apple. I think I'm on Spotify, Apple. I did Amazon, and I might have done one or two others. It's not like it used to be. Before you could just drop it, and then the RS feed would go out to everyone. Now you
Mhm.
have to do it manually,
Yeah.
and that's just okay. So I'm like, y'all can do one of these: Amazon, Apple, or podcast, Spotify. I think that those three are probably I'm hitting all pistons. So there's that. And so the podcast is called Hey Sis with Alicia Nicole, and I'm definitely gonna have you on, sis, to talk about. I'm gonna do a podcast about this DEI stuff. So we're gonna talk about this. Hey, Camille, we're gonna talk about this DEI foolishness and mayhem that's happening right now. So I'm gonna hit you up about that. I want to talk about that next month. So stay tuned. So so that's my podcast, and it's unscripted. So when you come on, we just talking. I'm not making a script. I'm just not. It's
Okay.
just too much for me. I can't
Okay.
do it. There's no script. We just gonna get on and chat. I'll probably have a couple of questions just to make sure we don't just go on a tangent. But it's unscripted, so I just get on and I talk with my guests, and then most of the times it's just me talking about hot topics.
Mm-hmm.
I do talk about the LinkedIn and the Black women, talking about Black women on LinkedIn. That's
Okay.
dropping this month. I talk about that, and I hold us accountable. We can't be doing that, sis. We cannot talk about each other on LinkedIn. Stop it. If you're doing, don't do that anymore. Please.
Yeah.
No more. Like ceasefire. So that's me. Oh, wait a minute. I saw a reel and they were like, the guy was like, I'm from Miami. He was like, Miami, Florida. He said, no, Miami-Dade County. And they said, Miami-Dade County in Florida. No, Miami. Oh my gosh. That was so funny to me. For those of y'all that are watching this later, I don't know if you get to see the comments, but that's what we're talking about, the comments that we see. But yeah, so that's where you can find me. I'm really trying to, oh, hey sis with Alicia Nicole. And then you'll see a picture of me in pink, smiling like this. So
It's the
so
personality for me.
and this is toned down. How about that? So, and then I'll go in my shell when I get off because I'll be exhausted from myself. So, but yeah, so that's where you can find me. I'm trying to meet everybody where they are. This is a lot for me because I like to work behind a desk and just do my work and mind my business. But I'm really serious about safe spaces for Black women. I keep my book on my desk. And so I was gonna put like a book for Black women, dealing with workplace abuse. But honestly, the tools in here are for friendships because we don't have to have that conversation. You already know what's up with that about friendships, about health equity. All these tools can be used in those spaces. So I didn't want to limit what Black women use this book for, but the foundation is about healthcare. About workplace. I work
Yeah.
in healthcare, so that's why I say healthcare. But
Mm.
workplace. My businesses are centered in healthcare. So yeah.
Yes.
But thank you.
Well, we are excited. I'm already subscribed for the episode
Thank you.
Saturday on.
It's already set. It's already scheduled. I'm so excited.
Going down. But I have really enjoyed our conversation today, and I
Me
cannot
too.
continue to cultivate a relationship with you. Actually, you're coming to Austin this month.
I am.
So
I
that's
am. I'm gonna roll up.
so
Roll
I
in and out.
can't wait for that.
Me too.
And I just want to say thank you to everyone who stuck with us, Team Live, and also those who will watch
Yes.
play as well. I'm excited to return next week where we're going to talk to Colette Ellis, who is the founder of Libby. And the name of that episode 5, is going to be Tapping for Liberation. And if anyone has ever done like those mindfulness exercises where you're like tapping to kind of regulate your nervous system, she's going to be talking about that practice. And her app, Libby, actually is something that guides you through doing that exercise without having to have a live person in front of you leading you through that.
Oh, that's nice. That's really good
Yeah.
because I can tell really quick. I'm sorry. As a social worker, I know that these types of behaviors are sometimes foreign to Black people. So I'm glad that you're bringing this to the forefront. Because we need to regulate. We have anger management sometimes issues, and so that type of behavior or intervention, as we say, is very helpful. So I'm glad that you're doing that.
Thank you. Thank you
You're
so much.
welcome. Yes, for sure.
I'm committed to this, girl. And
Yes.
you said something about the whole script situation because I'm a preparer. I prepare for everything.
Y'all should see her whole situation. I was like, mine's not gonna be like that, girl. It's just gonna be you be happy if you get an email. I might text it.
Right. I prepare for everything. However, my current leader, introduced me to improv. So I was talking to her and I was sharing that I wanted to like get better at public speaking and I wanted to go through a speaker's lab. And she was like, girl, no. She was like, I got better at public speaking through doing improv. So improv has been helping me to be more on my toes, to like show up as myself, to not feel like I need to prepare as much as I have in the past. So future guests, you might not get like all it is that the people in the beginning are getting. But I'm starting to feel like a little looser, like a little more like present and here and being able to just flow with the conversation wherever it is that it goes. And I really do attribute not only just the safety with the guests, but also improv has really been helping me with that.
Let me say this before whatever's next, because I know you better promote everything that you have going on. Do you hear me? Sister fund and all before I get off this platform, okay? So I'm gonna say this. A lot of us, and I don't have this problem with showing up as my authentic self, because this is who I am, like with my family, maybe not as deep, but this is me. This is what you see is what you get. And a lot of us have an issue with showing us up as our authentic self. And I say us meaning Black women, because that's who we talking about, right? A Black woman's guide to liberation. So when I say us, I mean Black women. Because we've had to code shift so much, we've had to cover up. We've had to fix our face and sit in meetings like this, literally on the edge of our seat, make sure my posture is right. Hi, John. We've had to do all of that so much. So how can you be your authentic self? You don't even know who you are half the time. Like literally, who are you? Do you know who you are
Alicia,
professionally?
don't do this to me today. Go ahead,
But
finish.
I'm just saying, I'm like, do you know who you are? So, we have to really show up as our authentic self. People say, we want to see your authentic self. Well, if you want to see me, let me tell you something. I show up to meetings with these hoops and hoodies. Do you understand what I'm saying? I will talk to high level professionals on this Teams thing that I use in a hoodie. And I just got off my treadmill and I'll go put some sunscreen on so my face is glowing and some lipstick and then sit down like, hi, because I just got off my treadmill and I'm about to relax. So I want you to be confident in who you are.
Yeah,
Take off whatever cloak, whatever it is you've had to put on, and put on your guard, meaning your garb, excuse me, of you, Crystal, not the
yeah.
garb of what your employer wants you to be or who they want you to be. Be who you want to be, because people would tell me, you look so beautiful. And I'm like, I've had the same face for, I'm not telling y'all how old I am, but for some of y'all, I could be your auntie, okay? But I'm gonna say this. I'm People would say that to me. I said, my face is the same. The difference is you're seeing me.
Yeah.
You're not seeing all the stress, the frustration, the hiding of who I really am. You get to see who I really am now, and that's why I'm pleasant to look at to you now. Whereas before I was them people. I wasn't
Mhm.
Alicia. Now I'm Alicia. So Crystal, be you.
Yeah.
Camille.
I appreciate that so much. I'm not gonna like we'll talk about this and it'll probably come up again in another episode.
Okay.
What I will say is that I actually talked to my therapist today and we had a whole conversation about identity and like who am I? And like I was literally in tears on the call because we were talking about like growing up, like my parents were not emotionally available. And we just talked about the ways in which I moved through the world and the pleaser mentality that I've had. And that's like a lot of work that I've been doing with this framework that I use for my group coaching, which is positive intelligence. And it's really helped me to identify like, why is it that I am the way that I am? Why do I react in the ways that I react? Like, what is the trauma that is showing up and being triggered when I have certain experiences? And girl, I just lost it. I just lost it. And I'm just like, oh, you just spoke to me when you were just talking. That's why I said, Alicia, don't do this to me today. Don't do
Well,
this to
guess
me.
what? This is
It's a
this is
reminder.
validation, boo. This is validation. This is what validation and encouragement looks like. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When I say that, I call it my methodology. It came from me talking with my book coach and saying, okay, this book cannot be a gripe session because that's what it would start off as. I was pissed when I first started writing this book. She was like, erase that and start all over. What is your methodology going to be? Because you want this book to be a tool for people that are writing theses or that are writing dissertations. So
Yeah.
I said, well, I'm going to tell you, Black women need validation, encouragement, and elevation. She was like, stop. Let me write that down. So
Mhm.
let that be validation to you because you are a wonderful person. You have one look this right here. This is a wonderful space for Black women
Mhm.
unapologetically. Period. That's why my podcast is Hey Sis, because that's what Black women call each other.
Yeah.
Period. That's who we are to one another. We are community. We are validators. We are encouragers. We lift our sisters up. I was doing W-9s the other day, and I was like, dang, look at how many Black women I paid this year out of, or last year out of our businesses. I patted myself on the back. I was like, done.
Mhm.
So be encouraged, be you. Go through improv and learn to take the layers of the onion off and get to the core so that you can be yourself and and love the skin that you're in and love who you see yourself as. Girl, should see me on these streets acting up. I have a good time with myself.
Believe it. I believe
Car
it.
parties and all.
I miss card parties. I'm from Virginia, so
No,
that
car parties, girl, not car parties.
hard, like faith.
No, no, I'm talking about driving in my car. But I love
Okay.
car parties too. But I'm talking about driving car parties. Child music be up, probably Snoop Dogg or Tupac, or it could be Jill Scott, depends on the day. But
Mhm.
I'm by myself having a funky good time. So
I
I want
love it.
that for you. So
I
continue your improv and
Yes,
blossom.
it's really helping me, and I'm gonna stick with
Yes.
it. I'm on week 5 in level 1, and level 2 starts in a couple weeks. So I'm
So
gonna keep going because it's been really helpful for me.
I'm happy for
So
you.
thank you, girl, for being here,
Thank you.
and thank you
Thank you
everyone
for having
else
me.
for listening in.
Yes, Elizabeth. I call
And
it V. Sorry.
you call it V. Oh, I like that. You say that in your book.
Hmm.
I get mine next week. So y'all go order Safe Spaces for Black women.
Yes. Because I'm an indie writer, they don't have that quick turnaround, but that's okay. They can do me like that. It's okay.
I bought it, so it don't matter.
I
Yep.
don't have a publisher buying up 10,000 copies saying that I'm a New York Times bestseller, but that's okay. I'm
You
sorry.
don't, you don't need them. You got us.
Period.
You got us.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. Well, we'll see you next week again on Thursday, same place, same time. Elizabeth is ordering your book tonight.
Oh,
Um,
thank you, Elizabeth. And
same.
Crystal has a trip to Cartagena. She mentioned it earlier, and she's not mentioning as she closes it out, but I'm going to mention it for her. She also has a sister fund so that she can do this great work and continue to build her platform to do awesome work for Black women by a Black woman. Okay, so please make sure that you support her and support Black women in general because we need it. We not all out here scamming and developing programs that are useless. Many of us are out here working hard to make sure Black women have resources that for us, by us.
Yes.
Sorry, you didn't do it, so I had to do it for you.
Got you calling me out. Thank you for the validation and
You're
making sure
welcome.
you see me. I appreciate it. If y'all
You're
want to learn
welcome.
about the retreat, go to designyoursoftlife.com. You can reach out to me to set up a call. Just want to talk about it and learn more about the opportunity. We're going to have a good time. It's going to be soul restoring.
Yes.
It'll be good. But all right, y'all, we'll see you next time. Thank you so much,
Thank
Alicia, for
you.
being here.
Of course. Thank you.